Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. If you've ever found yourself wondering how an abstract idea about diversity actually gets transformed into a concrete, sellable product line, well, you are in the exact right place. Today we're going to dive into a comprehensive playbook for building a professional fashion merchandising plan. And to do it, we're using a highly detailed, frankly fascinating student case study. Just take a look at the ballet shoe. Nowadays, we're finally seeing beautiful shoes showcasing a really wide, realistic range of flesh tones. But here's something wild to think about. Until the early 1970s, inclusive dancewear basically didn't exist at all. It actually wasn't until the legendary Dance Theater of Harlem took matters into their own hands, literally hand-dyeing their gear to match the skin tones of their dancers, that the industry saw this kind of revolutionary impact.
Now, you might assume the fashion market immediately rushed to cater to dancers of color after that, right? Well, it simply didn't happen. Get this, as late as 2020, literally just a few years ago, it was still completely customary in dance classes for Black and brown dancers to be given pink tights, leotards, and shoes. White dancers were just treated as the default reference point for attire that's physically meant to blend into the skin. It's a stark reality for sure, but it emphasizes exactly why inclusive design is an absolute necessity right now, and definitely not just a passing trend.
Okay, let's dive into this. To walk through the roadmap of bringing an inclusive product to market, we'll use a brilliant case study by student Margaret L. Goebel. Our agenda today: 1. The inclusive design imperative. 2. Defining the market niche. 3. Validating through research. 4. Strategy and visual frameworks. And 5. Pitching the marketing mix. All right, section 1, the inclusive design imperative. This is exactly where academic theory meets a real-world problem. So building a brand from scratch is this overarching 6-phase journey. You see, as a merchandiser, you aren't just sketching clothes. You are walking down a highly structured path that requires deep research, defining a niche, developing strategic tools, and ultimately applying hardcore marketing principles to actually sell your vision. The very first theoretical step on that roadmap, choosing a primary category of diversity to champion. That could be adaptive wear, gender-neutral clothing, or size inclusivity. For our students' playbook, she confidently selected racial diversity, specifically championing diverse dancers and creating apparel that actually reflects them accurately. Moving right along to section 2, defining the market niche. This is all about carving out a specific space in the industry. A strong brand identity requires a pretty delicate balance. As you'll see here, a true market niche is born only when you successfully overlap a very real, inclusive need with a distinct, compelling creative style. You really cannot have inclusivity without creative design, or vice versa, and actually expect to succeed in merchandising. It's like a giant puzzle. So how did our student answer that exact challenge? Her market niche is super clear and highly focused. Women's dancewear offering racially inclusive garments and accessories for every skin color. It hits the nail on the head, targeting that exact gap in the market we identified earlier. Which brings us to section 3, validating through research. Time to prove this concept can actually survive as a business. Okay, a professional merchandiser always validates their concept using a strict 5-pillar market investigation. We have to analyze representation in current brands to see what's missing, define market reach to know exactly who is buying, explore social impact to ensure the brand aligns with modern ethical standards, gather hard data for business opportunity, and finally, identify prevailing trends in creative design. You literally have to hit all 5 of these to build a bulletproof pitch for investors. If even one pillar is weak, the entire business model can collapse before a single garment is ever produced. So, what does this all mean for the bottom line? Is there actually money to be made here? Absolutely. Analysts project the global dancewear market size will reach $1.4 billion by the year 2028. To put that into perspective, that single massive number spectacularly proves the business opportunity pillar. There is a huge customer base out there actively waiting for the right product. Now, to fulfill the social impact pillar, the strategy focuses heavily on sustainability. Think long-lasting, recycled materials like eco-nylon yarn and organic cotton. Dancers will gladly pay a premium for durable tights that won't rip after a week of intense rehearsals, right? Creatively, the design leans into vibrant jewel-toned colors and warm, earthy aesthetics that beautifully complement diverse skin tones. And to maximize market reach, the strategy proposes collaborations with influencers from various ethnic backgrounds, making sure the product is actually seen by the communities it's built to serve. Next up, section 4, strategy and visual frameworks. This is how merchandisers actually defend their business strategy. This phase demands 2 concrete assets to prove viability. First up is a visual anchor to establish the aesthetic and set the tone for the entire brand. We're talking about the mood board. Second is the analytical anchor, a comprehensive SWOT analysis, breaking down strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to show investors you really understand the landscape. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the research beautifully translates into visual language. The actual mood board surrounds a wide spectrum of flesh-toned shoes and tights with those vibrant jewel tones we mentioned earlier. Deep reds and sage greens mixed with textured layering pieces. It brings the diverse representation to life instantly, communicating exactly how the brand will feel and the specific energy it brings to the studio. But look, a good business plan has to be grounded in reality. The strengths here are clear: a unique, dedicated focus on racial inclusivity combined with high-quality, durable materials. However, a major weakness is the high cost of producing inventory in such a massive variety of shades. Stocking 10 different skin tones instead of 2 means way higher upfront manufacturing costs. The opportunities, though, incredibly exciting. Imagine social media campaigns featuring iconic ballerinas like Misty Copeland, who actively advocate for this exact kind of equity. Yet the threats are very real, too. Specifically, legacy dancewear brands like Apizio and Block, who could quickly replicate the idea, or fast fashion competitors trying to undercut the price with lower quality imitations. Finally, Section 5, Pitching the Marketing Mix. How this inclusive product will actually be sold to the consumer. A professional pitch deck absolutely must articulate the 4 foundational principles of marketing: products, price, place, and promotion. You have to systematically apply these 4 Ps directly to your chosen niche to demonstrate exactly how the garments will move from the warehouse to the customer's closet. Applying this to our specific dancewear line. For products, we're bringing leotards, tights, shoes, and warm-up wear to market. For price, it sits at a mid to high range, which is entirely justified by the use of durable, sustainable materials. For place, it launches via a streamlined, online-only e-commerce model to keep those overhead costs low. And for promotion, the focus is entirely on targeted social media marketing and influencer collaborations on TikTok and Instagram, meeting younger dancers exactly where they spend their time. As we wrap up the academic framework, it's vital to remember the golden rule of visual merchandising. Every single image, photo, and graphic in your pitch deck should intentionally illustrate and support your ideas, not just fill empty space. Every visual element must serve a strategic purpose. If you apply that rule, your presentation will be absolutely undeniable. Ultimately, the core thesis of this entire merchandising project is best summarized by a really powerful thought from the source. True innovation in fashion happens when creative design meets radical inclusivity. The industry relies on visionary merchandisers to design a more equitable future. So, I want to leave you with this question. Knowing this roadmap, from defining your niche to validating the research to pitching the marketing mix, how will you push the boundaries of who fashion is actually made for? I really hope this deep dive into the business of inclusive design sparked your curiosity. Thank you for learning with me today, and I'll see you next time.